The new Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
My name is Jerry Grabinski. I'm with the West Jersey Tea Party, and I have a real-life situation to share with you, which would probably be multiplied by the 50 states. We have been trying since May of 2010 to get civics restructured in New Jersey to be taught as a stand-alone course. Presently, it's taught in the 4th, 8th, and 12th grades. Since that time, I'm not saying we're getting pushback, we aren't getting any champions within the New Jersey Education Department of Education. So my question to you is, how can you help us get civics taught as a standalone course?
Scott?
I think the first thing is we have seen the federal government bury the legacy of Horace Mann through No Child Left Behind. That obsession, which at the time seemed awfully like a good idea, was to basically turn all of our schools into trade schools, K through 12, to just get jobs and build workers. And so there's finally the pendulum is swinging back. And Common Core, which is a movement which has now been adopted by 46 states, is to try to bring civics back to center stage, among other things. And so we are working and in discussions with them to bring that back, to swing the pendulum. But the problem is, because of a nationalization of our school systems through No Child Left Behind, every school is now mandated to teach to the test. And that test is math and science and things that deal with getting people jobs. And citizenship and civics have been given short shrift. And thankfully, the pendulum's starting to swing back, and Richard is leading that way.
Here's one basic thing that I had to go through during the course of the last 10 years. Each time I rested on any assumption, I knew that assumption to be incorrect sooner or later. And I had to go all the way back and redefine all of my assumptions about all of these things, such as what is a conservative, what is a liberal, what is a Democrat, what is a Republican, what is a two-party system, and why. And one thing that we have to recognize is our present-day addictions. We are not only addicted to the trend of being addicted, we are addicted for real to certain things that have never existed before, such as instant gratification. One thing you know about America, or should know, is that it's tough and it takes hard work. And politics is not glory victory after glory victory. It's hard, slogging, boring work that takes enormously long, hard effort. And the fact that you haven't achieved what you'd like to achieve in the length of time you've given it, I would just say, give it more time and double your effort. But you have the right to continue your effort, and you have the ability to persuade those people who are in elective office or who support elective office to come around to your point of view. And you must learn patience, and you must learn a willingness and rigor to commit to this nation, however long it takes, to get it right. If you're not satisfied after a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of years and you say, well, this doesn't work, it doesn't work like that. It took us a long time to come to the realization that there was something better than being a British citizen. As a matter of fact, we were the perfect British citizen, which is why we were offended by the British behavior, because we were their perfect children. And how could they deny us representation, and how could they quarter their soldiers in our houses without our consent? It took us a long time to realize that we thought of ourselves as the perfect, dreamlike British citizen, and to build up the willingness politically to fight them intellectually, because it was a long time in coming, the idea of actually separating ourselves from Britain. And we are beset by computer technology and broadcast technology that whatever else it might appear to do magically and excitingly, it not only removes time from decision making so that you no longer ruminate and contemplate and have enough time to think things through and change your mind perhaps, you are the victim of our technology, which insists on your answer right away, so that you're constantly in a state of anxiety and stress because you're not answering the question right away. And when the towers fell and we watched someone kill 3,000 Americans right in front of us, we wanted to know, or television insisted that we know, who did it and why and where and how. They didn't ask why, they knew why. They hate us because of our freedom. Stupid. They said, we know who it was, we know what to do, we know where to go, we know this and this, and they didn't know anything. And they didn't say, let's find out who did this. Let's take the time to find out and aim our rifles correctly. One of the great lines I've ever learned was from Ulysses S. Grant, who said, always make sure you're aiming your rifle at the right enemy on the right battlefield. And we make that error all the time. So when this terrible thing happened, we had this reflexive demand for a response when we knew nothing. We didn't know anything at all about Al-Qaeda. We knew nothing at all about the Middle East or the problems of the Arab world or Islam. But we responded. And let me tell you, when I say to you glibly, we have removed time from decision making, I assure you that what I am saying to you is not only true, but is one of the most dangerous places to be in your mind. You might afford the lack of time in fashion, in sports, but you can't afford in geopolitics to have time removed from the ability to think clearly. In the old days, when King Philip of Spain insulted Elizabeth of England, it took her 3 weeks to find out about it. And it took her all the time in the world to craft her reply. And that lag time saved the human race, because we have always had this odd desire to kill as many Homo sapiens as we can get our hands on. But our technology has always lagged behind our desire. And now it doesn't. Now we have the technology to kill as many human beings as we want. And we have developed no spiritual restraint from doing that. So not only can we end up doing it by mistake, we can do it purposefully and not admit to being neurotic and crazy in so doing. I want to remind you of something. For 100 years after the Civil War, it was perfectly okay for any one of you to pull over to the side of the road and hang any black man, woman, or child that they wanted to. And they did that at a rate of 90 a month for 100 years. And any time we tried to stop lynching, as if we needed an extra bill to stop lynching, it was always defeated by coalitions of Western and Northern senators who thought that was the price of doing business in Washington. And then 100 years later, there was a 5-year civil rights struggle on television. And all of a sudden we all said, oh my God, what was that lynching thing? That was insane. We had been hypnotized for 100 years. We looked a sin in the face and pretended it didn't exist. There is no end to the capability that humans have in denial, in committing atrocities, and blaming others. We have to be very, very careful, because we have developed our technologies to the point that with one press of a button, we can end this planet's life. And think about it. Can you rely on the spiritual resilience of your children and you not to make the mistake? I can't, which is why I want as much support intellectually behind this system of governance as possible.
Okay, can we take
The new Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.